Okay then, hello everyone. We're moving on now to, I think this is one of my favourite episodes of this season, and in general, Bender should not be allowed on TV. Now, when I was a kid, this was just an incredibly entertaining and funny episode, and that's really what I got out of it. Just the laughs and just enjoyment per minute, per 10 seconds. Just superlative. It was one of the more, it was the highlight of the season even.
I was thinking about that while watching it just now as well. How, I always felt the same, that it's just, this really funny episode. But, there is a bit of, light social commentary.
Yeah, and even that age, you kind of got it,
Yeah, but it wasn't the focus. And even though watching it now, it is a bit more the focus of the episode, it's just balanced so well with the comedy that it's...
I think so, yeah.
It's, seamless. So, how sometimes you're watching one of these sitcoms that has something to say, especially about the entertainment industry... And it just feels a bit hollow or just inside info that just doesn't, relate or hit in a visceral sense, just your standard watcher, or in the case of a kid show, a child or whatever. But this episode manages to do that in such a way that, probably because it's all based around Bender, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how this episode arises. It's almost like this was an episode done in response to... Its elder siblings show, The Simpsons, and the cultural response to Bart Simpson, for instance.
Yeah.
But even more so to the contemporary to this episode, even more extreme, different channel, different creators, but the reception of Cartman / South Park in general on the public, because that was a show that was very thoroughly not meant for kids, right down to... I mean, to be fair, I don't know what time slot they would have aired new Simpsons episodes at the time, but by the time, so talking 7, 8...
7:30, 8 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah, when they aired new episodes and we were younger, right?
Yeah,
in the 2000s. But see, the older episodes were repeated, so the idea that it was a super grown-up show, not that it is, never really occurred to me, whereas South Park was always on later, so that...
Yeah,
The intentions of South Park were very clear,
South Park was on at 9:30, yeah.
Yeah, and you couldn't mistake that for sort of a kids or even a teens, your understanding of an older, a tweens show even.
Sure.
So in the context of the very early 2000s, I think an episode like Bender Should Not Be Allowed on TV would have felt resonant, and definitely when you put the pieces together in retrospect, you can see why they felt motivated to compose an episode like this. Maybe even there were complaints about Bender, I don't know. Because Futurama sort of being, sci-fi and sort of cute novelty in that respect may have drawn some kids to it that people weren't, some certain parents weren't too keen on. But of course, ultimately the message, if you want to sort of condense it in this episode,
pro corporal punishment.
Wow, it is effectively that old line. And if you've seen those famous PMRC hearings from the 80s of people like Zappa, D. Snyder, and then of course John Denver, speaking out against Al Gore's wife and the gang.
Good old Tipper. What kind of name is Tipper?
It's very odd. It's a 40s name, you know what I mean?
Must be, yeah. Tipper and Topper.
Topper Heaton.
Yeah.
Clash. But no, it's just the same, the kind of line there where it's the typical stance of and it's one that's very relatable. And I think they probably just wanted to remind people of it because, pre-internet, you didn't necessarily have the longest memory, even though that mid-80s to early 2000s. Yeah. But that old standard line of look, it's, you're the parent, shouldn't you be monitoring what they watch on TV / what music they buy from the shop?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know what I mean?
You're not raising your children.
You're not taking an interest in that.
You're expecting society to raise your children.
Yeah. And that was sort of seemingly becoming a bit of a talking point in the later 20th century in the developed world.
For sure.
Idea that parents were expecting government institutions or education establishments.
It's what started the helicopter parent era.
Yeah, rather than sort of this halfway point which was met at. It was understood that the school would teach the things that, your parents couldn't necessarily teach you about.
They can't teach
all
you
of mathematics and Shakespeare or physics or things like that.
Yeah. Or even most parents, basic English syntax.
Right, yeah.
You learn that at school. Typically,
a lot of people learn it in school and then forget it once they're in their 16.
Yeah. Wait, what'd you say?
Goodness me. But no, it's a really strong episode, this one, I think. I think the message is endearing enough. Maybe a bit we probably all agree with. If you're a fan of Futurama, you probably agree with the message thoroughly.
And the way they balance that, like, yeah, it's serious.
The way they
message.
make it funny is like I think
it's
expert.
perfect. It's one of the best jokes in the whole show. You know,
I suppose it's an obvious message, perhaps.
the corporal punishment. Yeah. So it just gives you that necessary balance of like, it's not heavy-handed. It's almost like that one little line is a great snippet of the whole episode. You know, sort of what it does, where it does have messaging, but the comedy comes first, and the messaging sort of is reliant on the comedy rather than the other way around. Whereas so much satirical, whether it be cartoon or just sitcoms or whatever, the jokes are dependent on the messaging, right?
Yeah. You know, I like that line, you know, sitting down with your kids and hitting them. Like, as a kid, that was just so funny. Just obviously the sort of, you know, sleight of hand there was hilarious.
Yeah.
But also just the idea of, like, Futurama's bizarre and absurdist universe where, like, you know, Bender's like, couldn't you just, you know, and of course this is, of course, Bender's disposition where he thinks it's sweet. Just sit down with your kids and hit them. That's what Bender thinks.
Yeah.
And even the professor and the Hermes are like, except this is like, yeah, we know, like, we should be hitting them more.
Yeah, they just do.
Like, that's the equivalent of playing with them, is just hitting your kids. Like, that's just, it was hilarious and brutal. But it was funny. Like, there was no denying that at, like, what, 9-10 years old, you know, I'm in year 3, year 4 watching these episodes. You would have been around. It's great stuff. And no, it remains a very consistently entertaining and rewatchable episode now. Fantastic script, you know, expertly performed by the cast, great visuals, a lot of good visual gags. I pointed out actually when watching it just now. I think it was a visual gag plus a way of moving the plot forward in a kind of fun way to have the vault that they steal from Bender and Fry's unit, which Dwight was carrying and found extremely heavy. Well, they don't open it. Bender was actually sleeping inside.
Yeah.
And that's how he's able to rock up to the scene of their party.
Somehow called Fry from within.
That's funny, yeah. Like, I can imagine him doing that. He just, hey, I'm sleeping in the vault, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's cool.
Another good feature of this episode as well is that jealous cowards try to control, but rise above. We're going to rise above.
Oh, of course. Yeah, my first exposure to that particular song, of course. Probably
Different track, that's Rise Above, but yeah, the TV part.
Oh, yeah, you know what I meant. And also the Busta Rhymes song, too, probably the first time I heard that.
Yeah, is it a Busta Rhymes song?
Oh, who sings that?
It's I think it's Busta Move by, I think his name is like MC Cool or something.
Oh, okay.
It's the most like generic late 80s like rap song, you know.
Yeah, I don't know these people.
Busta Move.
Sometimes it's like I don't know some of the individuals. You know, like there's a few big hip hop like sort of formative tracks and like big hit tracks from like the early to mid 80s, and they've all. But most of them are just kind of considered one-hit wonders, I think, in that context.
That guy's a one-hit wonder, for sure.
Know, wasn't that... Who did the basketball song? Curtis Blow? No.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't even his biggest song, though. His biggest song was called, like, The Breaks.
Okay.
It's a terrible song.
Right, yeah.
He's like, these are the bricks.
I don't know how long, like, the Grandmaster Flash thing lasted.
Oh, one album.
Yeah. And then, there's I don't know, obviously... LL Cool J and like that sort of thing.
Yeah. The
Coolio.
The golden era or whatever. A lot of the big acts were. I guess LL Cool J was pretty big for a few years, but
probably yeah.
Coolio is like 94. That's a bit later.
Yeah, I
was
was
like
going to say.
90s.
Yeah.
Whereas
I used to confuse those two for some reason.
Biz Markie is, well, Coolio and LL Cool J. They both got cool in it.
Yeah, I think that's why.
Yeah, Biz Markie's another one of those. There's a bunch of them. Busta Rhymes is again a bit later. It's like. He was in some group called like Leaders of the New School or something, and then they were featured on like that Tribe album, that's the Low End Theory. I think that's where he got his start or whatever.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's the guy who's like doing the Rasta voice, and he goes, classic bar, rah rah like a dungeon dragon.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a funny one. But yeah, no, this episode, it's like easily top 5 of the show.
You reckon? Wow.
Yeah. Or at least top 5 as far... It's like top 2 as far as comedy goes. It's got to be. It's close. It's that funny, I think.
Oh, when I think of funniest episodes of the show, I think of like, Future Stock's funny.
That is funny. Not as like viscerally funny. It's a bit more like clever.
Poplars is funny.
Yeah, Poplars is classic, for sure.
Apology of Interest 1 and 2 are funny.
Poplars is just like an episode that's enjoyable to watch, no matter what the
And
situation.
put your head on my shoulders is fucking funny.
That's like a classic sitcom, and it's like,
Oh.
sharp relationship writing.
Look with chocolate, just let me finish.
Mm-mm.
Oh my god.
See, that's like the perfect Friends joke. And of course, it's not in Friends.
Yeah, of course. Our friends had the white dog instead.
What's that?
Oh, it's just this gag, which is like mildly funny on the show.
Okay.
Well, I think it's just in one episode I saw once. So like, just I guess Joey moving out, or Chandler's moving out into Monica's, and like Joey's like, oh, I need to part you with this one gift, the white dog, and it's just this bizarre statue of like this white dog.
Okay.
And the episode ends and, like, Monica and Chandler are embracing in their new unit, and she's like, I just have one thing I need to know, Chandler. What the hell is this dog you've brought in? It's just this stupid little, like, greyhound thing.
Mm.
This is this very, like, easy but, like, kind of, like, trashy, like, sitcom gag. I have a mild fondness for, like, that sort of, like, really, like, cliche, trashy sitcom continuum. I used to have a fondness for, like, that 70s show, which I actually can't watch now because of, like, the crimes which Hyde, the actor who played Hyde on that show, committed.
Oh,
it's meant to be a funny show, and just like I can't unsee that. It's just
And
like,
I saw the video,
grotesque.
a video where people were ripping into like Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher because they did like some live stream where they're defending him and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a creepy live stream. It's like they're doing it under duress.
damn.
Yeah, because they're married, right?
Maybe.
I think so. Yeah. Because they were together, and just in like their like holiday house, which they should give to a homeless person.
Yeah, probably. Or like a dozen or so that'd fit.
Or Zoidberg.
Well, Zoidberg. We love Zoidberg. The lovable
He's the
tramp.
lovable tramp, yeah.
Yeah, top 5 of the show. Wow, nice.
Oh,
Maybe.
top 5 comedy.
Oh, comedy.
Yeah. Maybe top 10 of the show. Once again, I wouldn't have a solidified top 10. It'd just be one of those, like, not ambiguous, but, like, sort of a floating top 10,
My ambiguous, like, stream of consciousness top 5 is like something like Godfellas, Fairer to Remember, The Two Anthology of Interests, Absolutely Fabulous, and if I'm going to put the Anthology of Interest as one slot, I'll also add maybe like Fans of Parabox as well.
You're missing Fear of a Bot Planet and Hell is Other Robots.
Hell's Other Robots is brilliant, and I do like Bot Planet, definitely.
But yeah, like,
That's what I'm
mine would be a bit season 1 top heavy, to be
I
honest.
love When No Fan Has Gone Before. I think that's just...
Oh, that's
fantastic,
classic. Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
Yeah, soonish. Woohoo.
Well, what's next? Jurassic Park? Better get the tissues, everyone.
Oh dear. Yeah, I guess we'll get ready for that one. Just be prepared, dog lovers, I suppose.
Yeah. And never watch Marley and Me. Just watch that 20-minute episode.